I'm like, and yes, and speaking of total information collapse, let's talk about Atlas,
Yes.
ChatGPT's new browser.
Yes.
So I've been playing this.
So we should set the scene. So this will come out a few days after Atlas came out, but this is OpenAI's answer to Google Chrome and other browsers. They claim that this is the one browser to rule them all, which has got embedded AI into it.
Yeah. It's been out. So as of today, it's been out for like, I don't know, 29 hours or something.
Right.
So I've been playing with it. I picked it up right away. So I'm looking out, and I'll put the link to OpenAI's sort of their, their news story about it or whatever. Befuddled, I think is the word.
Right.
Befuddled, leading to sort of someone like if this was a movie, I feel like I've discovered the plot, right? I
know, because we were talking and all these conspiracy theories come out.
Oh my gosh. So here's the deal. So it's ChatGPT Atlas. It is available, I'm assuming, across platforms. I only see
I think
Mac
it's
OS
only
version.
available on Mac at the moment, but they're bringing it out for other platforms. Yes.
That's okay.
Which is odd. Yes.
All right. So if you're thinking about it, I will say that's where you go *? That's odd.
Yes.
So why? I'm curious what we'll get into that. But so it is a full-on browser that you download and install, which for people who don't know or aren't familiar, a browser is a software application that you run on your machine that is capable of executing code. That's how you ingest the web. You visit pages that serve it HTML code and other web-based codes, and this thing compiles them and runs it, right?
Yep.
So now they're offering Atlas, which in their words says, bring ChatGPT with you across the web for instant answers, smarter suggestions, and help with tasks, all with the privacy settings you can control. And I'm like, first thing, I was like,
you're sort of angling for a job with OpenAI, aren't you? The voice of OpenAI.
Or just can I be the cranky guy who's just like, hey, come on, you can't. So, so again, my initial reaction was, why? A browser? What do I need this for? So I download it, I install it. Interestingly, right away in the installation, it's asking me these questions that started raising red flags. And I am a person, again, I've been in information technology for almost 30 years. You see these red flags from software all the time where you're like, no, you can't have access to this. And thankfully on the Mac, the platform, it is very aggressive about not giving access without your permission.
Right. Yes.
But you're like, no, you may not do that. No, you may not have access.
And it's all supposedly so it can get to know you better.
Yeah. And so what I hoped, because this is a downloadable app, I think my hope was, hey, this will run on device.
Yep.
The things that it considers to be private.
But it relies on an internet connection, Sean.
I know. But it doesn't have to. See, that's the thing, right? It runs, there is software on the machine.
But it's an internet browser, Sean.
Well, and so here's where the plot thickens, right? So I've got it open, I've got it installed here, and I've got it open. And initially when you look at it, it's an odd mix because it is literally, you can type in a URL, or it's the same sort of chat bot field. So it's like URL or question to ChatGPT.
Right.
Now, of course, you link this, you log in with your credentials. But it was the privacy element that really threw me.
Right.
Because originally it said, it's going to be private. You control that. I'm thinking on device, on local model, or control of that. That's wonderful.
Yep.
That's not the case. What is the case is it controls the privacy settings that you allow it, just like you do with your normal, your normal piece.
Yep.
The problem that starts to arise very quickly from my viewpoint when you're using this is you're like, okay, why would they do this? And I have some questions. And so if anyone out there has any answers, I would love to hear them, because the browser has long been the keyhole to which you, the user, view the world.
Right.
Right. So, and now, is that perfect? No. Google, Chrome has had its issues as well. I mean, Safari, these are all, I mean, again, this is Google, this is Apple, this is Microsoft. These are large tech companies who produce these browsers. But there are also tons of open source ones, the Mozilla project, for Firefox. I mean, it goes on and on and on. You have agents you can choose, but if you think about the activities that you do through your web browser, it's most of what you do aside from things that are app contained,
right?
Especially on a computer, not a smartphone or a tablet, right?
Yep. And we should just say what that includes. It includes what you search for, what you read, what you spend time on, what you focus your attention on, because it can pick up all of these things. So if you're reading an article, it can tell how long you spent on that article, which bits of the article you focused on, where you went from that article, sort of how you sort of develop a series of searches or sort of links from that.
Yeah.
It can actually begin to build a very, very sophisticated profile of you.
And that profile is something that browsers have had the capability to do. And now, to be fair, right, a lot of people in this food chain, if you will, do. It's your internet service provider. It's the browser. It's all of the things that they can learn about you. The cookies, remember the cookies, right? All these little tiny signals and files that you store, right, that signal things about you and your behavior. Those are used for, well, you hope for conveniences, right? So when you come, it takes you back to the place you were.
Right, but also targeted ads.
Also,
we've all seen
the
those,
juiciest thing you can sell, right? Why are so many services free? Well, because you are the product that's being sold to other agencies. And what sort of hit me that was very unsettling was also just in relation to the conversation we were having last week about ChatGPT and Walmart and Amy Webb's comment about how that was sort of threatening to completely wipe out the existing internet-based economy infrastructure for this new model.
Yes.
And suddenly I had this thought that was terrifying, which because it's like, what better way to choke out the rest of all of that pipeline of that economic sort of infrastructure than to also get a stranglehold on the browser to the conduit to which all of the other internet-based activities are conducted. And that's, so again, is that a bad thing? It's not about good or bad. It's about understanding that if you're using this browser,
understanding the dynamic,
what's happening when you're putting your bank account information in. And because with just like the other ChatGPT and things, again, one of the benefits of memory is that it knows more about you and it knows all this stuff. But do you want it to know these things?
See, that's it. Yeah. So actually, I was going in another direction, but I think there are huge questions around sort of what happens to the data you put in, what happens with how it learns about you. But where my mind was going, in class this week, we were watching the movie Ex Machina.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
And one of the things that comes out of that, for anybody not familiar with the story, it's about an AI, very, very manipulative AI that was developed, a really powerful story. But in the story, the way that AI was trained was on an equivalent of Google. It's called Blue Book. And the story goes that the developer of this AI realized that you could basically learn everything about people through their internet browsing habits. And now we've got exactly this. We've got an AI embedded in an internet browser, which in principle can learn layers upon layers upon layers, not only about you, but about how humans work, how human society works, the factors in there which allow you not only to understand that, but to manipulate behavior. And this raises huge red flags. And hopefully OpenAI are going to put guardrails here. But the fact that we're giving away data where we have no idea how an advanced AI can begin to sort of slot that together to reveal things about us that we really would not like others or a machine to understand and know, because it can be used again to manipulate us.
And again, on that same vein, one of the realizations here is like, you could argue, right, that if you go to a search engine and you're searching for something, right, you are getting a colored access to, there's two thoughts. One is no one probably really wants unfettered access to the true open web, because you'll be, you only make that mistake once. But you could say, okay, well, that's still coloring my view of the world. If I use Google, if I use Bing, if I use, DuckDuckGo or whatever any of these other search engine might be, RIP, Alta Vista and Lycos.
But they're passive. They deliver other people's content to you rather than deciding how to mold and form that content.
Even if they're gaming the ranking of what happens, you still, your portal to the information that is available is your browser. And the thing that I was thinking about too is exactly that, is like same with that sort of economic model of asking ChatGPT to buy you sneakers or whatever. And it's like, well, whichever shoe company gives it the most money, guess whose shoe it's buying.
Right.
Well, same idea with the browser is not only, so now that coloring wouldn't happen only at the search engine level, but at the browser level itself.
Yes. Yep.
So how do, and this is the question, how do we know that it is not doing that?
Yes.
How would you, and I hope, and you know, this is early, so I'm hoping that some of these answers will come out as,
but
you know,
it underlines this need to have the conversation. And it may be, this is a great product. And I've played with it, and I honestly couldn't see the point in it, but others have written about it saying this is a game changer. But the important thing to me is the conversations. It may be great, but if we're not having the conversations around what the consequences of this are and what the potential downsides are, who is going to be making the decisions?
How do you know it's great?
Yes.
Right. And how do you know it'll stay that way?
And so I'm assuming, from what I saw, you can either use it so it just serves web pages as they are, or you can use it to serve information about web pages. Is that correct? Or you can get it to interrogate web pages?
Yep. So I was playing, what I've seen also, you know, people post on LinkedIn, for example, they were posting, of course, right away, like, oh, look, I can use the new browser to do my homework on Canvas or whatever. And I'm like, I've not been able to get it to, I don't know. Maybe I'm just using it wrong. I'm holding it wrong.
But actually, we should flag this. So if this is a possibility, because so our students use this learning management system called Canvas, where they bring everything up in a browser. You've got all your assignments in a browser, whether they're quizzes or whatever. If you had an agent where you had that in your internet web browser and you could tell the AI just to fill this in, now you've basically sort of removed the friction completely between sort of an assignment and an AI doing it for you.
Yeah, you don't even have to copy and paste anymore.
Yeah, and to be sure, even though you've seen it on LinkedIn, we haven't been able to sort of see whether this is actually possible. But this is the way things are going. In principle, it is possible.
Yeah. Well, and instantly too, I think, you know, there's a concept I don't know if it's proprietary to the Canvas learning management system, but they have a lockdown browser mode. I'm sure they all do.
Right.
Where to prevent students from, you know, again, having like an online quiz or something, and then opening up another browser window to you know, copy paste or whatever, even if it's just their notes, whatever. But I'm like, I wonder how a lockdown browser would work within this.
You realize, I wonder how quickly policy is going to follow this. But I'm just thinking about our own institution, ASU, where now every student has got access to ChatGPT. They haven't got access to the browser yet, but I think that's probably coming. But you can imagine a counter policy that says you are not allowed to use the OpenAI browser if you're using Canvas.
Yeah, maybe. Which again, you can... Yeah, Canvas can do a test to see what browser's hitting it, but you can hide that.
Right, yes,
anyway, it becomes this technological cat and mouse game.
It raises questions. And going back a little bit in the conversation, the question I had is about the filter between content and what you see.
Yeah.
Because now if you're increasingly relying on an artificial intelligence engine or agent to filter that content, so it decides what to show you, how to summarize it, how to reform that information.
Yeah.
Now the information you're getting has been manipulated in a way which hopefully is neutral. But how do you know it's neutral?
Exactly. And here's the thing. Here's a question that I need to do. I might be able to do it live here in a second. So to test the agentic mode, because it offers a lot of the tools are familiar in this. So basically, for if you're listening, I'll describe this. So I'm looking at what looks like a regular web page, but on the side of it is sort of carved out like what would be your ChatGPT window. It's sort of tucked in on like the edge.
Yep.
And then you have all your tools. So it really, in some ways, you're like, okay, it saves me from having to go back and forth. I guess.
Yes.
But so I asked it. So, you know, it's no surprise to anyone who listens to our show, at least for the long category. I'm a big Nikon shooter, right? So cameras. I love my Nikon or my Nikon for the rest of the world. So I asked it, there's a new camera came out. Famously, Nikon and the cinema camera have merged a while back, and their new sort of hybrid camera came out. It's called the Nikon ZR. And I went to B&H, which is a massive retailer for all these things. And I turn on the agentic mode and I say, find me all the information about the new camera and give me a rundown and give me all the analysis of it, whatever. And of course it does it, but what I was expecting was to watch this agentic mode like navigate the website for me. Right. Did not do that at all.
Okay, it sort of slips behind.
It kind of pulls up and then, you know, and I've on other websites, I've had it try to do a thing where it's like, I can't see that. Can you press the next button? I'm like, I thought you were, what's the point of this then? But anyway, it pulls up this stuff. It does a normal sort of ChatGPT rundown and response, which I'm like, yeah, cool. Gets everything for me.
Yep.
But then while we were talking, I just asked the browser. I just said, "What's the best camera?"
Yep.
Well, it's a Nikon. Now I would agree, but
millions wouldn't.
But anyone out there holding a Canon or a Sony would tell me otherwise.
Or a Leica, for instance.
Well, yes. Well, I would say if cost is a factor of best, then Leica will never be on the top of that list. They're just too dang expensive. It's like the Hasselblad; they're just too expensive.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, it is. Here's a little about it. And it's like our top one. We recommend.
But it takes the cognitive load off you and puts it onto the machine, which also means that it's making decisions for you in terms of what your preferences are or where you're being nudged.
Yeah, and I'm just. I'm doing the same thing. I'm just asking Google what is the best camera. And I'm curious if the results are the same.
Yeah.
If it shows me the same list. No, this one shows Canon.
Yeah.
Canon, Fujifilm, Nikon is not, of course they're on. It shows them all.
Yeah.
And so my question is, like, because we know this sort of like the sycophantic, always pleasing nature of ChatGPT,
Right.
I asked it specifically about a type of camera, and then I asked it what was the best camera.
And it's learned, yes.
And my question is it just showing me, if it's just telling me that because it thinks that's what I want to hear?
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting here going, so this is my whole browser now doing this, not just ChatGPT, right? And so
then you have to ask, and this is us speculating.
Sure.
Maybe everything is great here and above board, but if, as you say, our browsers are the interface between us and the rest of the world, and we have a company that is beginning to sort of control that. Is OpenAI beginning to effectively control our world?
Yeah.
How we see it, how we perceive the world, how we respond and react to the world?
Yeah, I mean, jokingly, I've heard many episodes ago, at one point we were laughing because we were like, we've discovered the plot, which is like they're trying to take over the world.
Right.
And I'm like, with one of these things, you're like, what you can see is I think I mentioned this to you yesterday in passing. I'm like, somewhere, I bet on a whiteboard, right, is this like grease outline of the markers. That's like
the 3-step plan for world domination. Number 1, ...
That's right. Number 1, put it on their phones. Number 2, put it on. But you can see how you could see very quickly how this browser launch fits in a strategy to become like a single platform.
Yes.
A single, like everything platform, or a single, whatever you want to call it, which is what they would want, right? Also, maybe even just from a technical perspective of training data.
Yes.
Because we've kind of run out. Right? Is how better to continuously feed the machine than to just make sure you get everything.
Right.
Yes. So, and again, when you think about that, when you add up all these things, the reason that this makes me concerned, and right now I have this thing air gapped in the sense where it knows nothing. I turned off all the memory things. I don't do anything on here that I don't assume is being watched. Right. And because if you think about the things where all the things we know about our data in the sense of social media, what's happening in terms of that exchange of information out, information in, all of the different things you might do, health. Now, how many things do you do from your health perspective that are all through like chart, or you fill in the blank for your, the web-based thing for your test results, all these kind of everything.
Yes.
And now you have a platform that's like, don't worry, we'll sit there and it'll all just exchange through us. And we'll, again, maybe it's not a nefarious purpose, but we will take from that exchange what we need because it's free. It's free. We'll take it.
So huge number of questions. And it may be that OpenAI is in the process of addressing them, but even that idea of bringing up confidential records. In fact, actually, I'm going to give you another example, which I think people won't be allowed to do this. So say you're in a organization like ASU, you're dealing with private confidential information about students, which is protected by law, but you're doing it through a browser because that's the only way you can do it. And you're using OpenAI's browser. To what degree do you know that those data are 100% protected? Or whether there's any leakage? Because again, you've got that AI sort of layer between what you're seeing and what actually exists in the database.
That's a great question. Like, I mean, even just something like, maybe the most benign like grades.
Right.
If I literally go to my grade book and it's in this platform, have I just given those grade?
Okay, I'm going to have to try this because if I can go in and I can open my grade book and say sort of give me a stats summary of those grades, it's immediately taking that information, it is processing it somewhere and giving me stuff back, which means there's data leakage.
Yeah, so here's the thing, and I'm looking at this right now, and I'm going to just put a big old pause. I can see the cliff. Because here's the thing. Right now, in this particular browser, if I go to a URL, let me just type in canvas.school.edu, whatever. The site can't be reached. Interesting. What I can't see right off the bat is I don't see any of the HTTPS certifications. I don't see any of So normally, for example, for people, if you're understanding, we're like, well, yeah, but Sean, why would Safari or Chrome or anything else be needed? There's web protocols that encrypt the information. So HTTPS is the encrypted version of that. So when you're typing things into a field like your username and your password, those are being sent to that service in an encrypted way, not in plain text, which is, HTTP. Right,
yes.
And so the challenge that I have now is I'm like, even in this browser, if I put in the URL, I don't see and I can't see how I access the site's certificate.
Right.
So that begs the question, if you type in anything like a password, or if you type in, your university ID and login, even if it has two-factor, I'm like, well, how do you know that there's not in the cybersecurity space, we would call that a man in the middle. How do you know that there's not an entity, maybe not human, maybe it's just a generative AI tool or a large language model. But how do you know that you're not passing that first to this entity in the man in the middle is so misogynist, person in the middle, entity in the middle, because I can't see right now. I'm literally typing in HTTPS and I cannot see the certificate.
Right. Interesting. Yep. So while you've been doing that, I have actually gone using Atlas to my enrollment information in my courses. So this is information on students and what they're studying, where they are at ASU, a whole bunch of things. And I just asked, analyze these data, and it gave me a full analysis of the students in my class.
Yeah. That's a red flag and a siren.
That is a huge, and thankfully there's not that much that's controversial here, but there is stuff, including sort of student emails and stuff like that.
I mean, even the grades. I mean, even technically, you're not even allowed to post like the courses they're enrolled in publicly in any way, shape, or form.
Yep. So definitely there is a transfer of confidential information between this browser and whatever is doing the processing at OpenAI's side.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably something somebody needs to ask questions about pretty fast. Because at the moment I can access everything through this.
And then you can. I mean, here's I'm going to use some cybersecurity terms here. But that also then allows you to start to. It's a terrible term, so apologies up front. It allows you to start to finger data, and you can actually go and say, now tell me about this, and now you can take that information and go search it elsewhere to find out how these. This is bad. Well, and now, but think about if you did that with your bank account. You logged in with your bank account.
Yes.
And whether you say, now analyze this for me or not, again, how do you know it's not already doing that?
Yes. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Building that profile of you, building that thing. Oh, well, wow, you sure spend a lot on comic books or, whatever. Like maybe you should think about that. Yes. Sean, you'll never afford that Leica because you keep spending all your money on these stupid comic books or something.
Yes,
I'm like, hey, man.
Yep. There you are. So again, a lot of questions.
And again, it leaves you with, for me, what I don't like is it leaves me with a little bit of an icky feeling.
Yes.
Which again, coming back kind of to that idea of I would say they're a for-profit. They're just they're not for-profit yet, but they're naturally going to boost their own stuff.
Right.
But I'm like, so tell me about this security again, because even in, I've always used ChatGPT, whichever version it's been, the $20 a month, the $200 a month, always with the expectation that there's always an expectation that what you put in there is never truly private.
Right.
Yes, I've never shared, even if because I've put in medical stuff before, but I don't put in all of it. I put in the language that came from the radiologist.
Yes. Yep.
Not my medical record ID, not those kind of things. And and with that, there's always this grain of salt where you're like, well, it's all private. We don't train it, all this kind of stuff. However, we do know that I think it's the Wall Street Journal, the lawsuit that is going back about with OpenAI, the judge has enforced that OpenAI retain every single prompt that every user puts in.
That's it. Yes. Yep.
Even though OpenAI didn't want to. They don't want to do that.
Right.
Because that's a liability. But they want to purge that.
How does that work with this? Yes.
How does that work with this? So now you have so now, even if it's against what they want to do as an organization, currently they're being forced to do exactly that. Hold on to everything you put in there.
Yes.
Because it's meant to be held for discovery for the legal process, which is normal. That happens, right? It's not a unusual thing. But in this case, you're like, wait, so that means it's a blanket, requirement for however many tens, hundreds of thousands of users and all of their information.
Yeah.
Like, man, this is
So we should probably come back to this at some point. But just before we wrap this up, so I've been looking at my Canvas shell for my course, which has looking at the grade book, which has all of the students and all of their grades. And I can put in the name of a specific student and ask, how are they doing? And it'll give me a full rundown of everything and give me suggested actions on what I might want to do next with them. But also looking at this, it gets it wrong. So it pulls out data with 100% certainty and tells me the corrective actions I need to take. But the data analysis is wrong.
Yeah. Because again, it's not... again, it's just a tokenized probability machine. Right? So you're like, tell me what Sean needs. And it's like, beep, boop, bop, beep, boop. He needs this. You're like, what the hell are you talking about?
I'm going to get out of this fast because I am feeling very, very icky about sort of using a browser where I have no idea where the data are going, how they're being used, how they're being stored, and what is leaking out of this.
Burn it. Let's bury it and then bury the shovel.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Oh, time to get out of that.